Thomas Kennedy.
Here.
Richard Warren. Joseph Logan.
Here.
David Nardolillo.
Here.
Dean Wagner.
Here.
Richard Cribb.
Here.
Richard Oliphant.
Here. I'm going to move that we accept the minutes of the April meeting as presented. A second. Second. Any discussion? Those in favor? Aye. This opposed? Passes unanimously. Correspondence relates to particular items on the agenda. What I'll do is we'll look at that as they come up. As a matter of fact, they all relate to the Dutch Harbor project. Three items of business on review. The applicant kindly respond as to whether they're ready to go. Dutch Harbor, that's ready. Andrew Ruse, is that ready? It's ready to go? Are you ready to proceed tonight?
Sure.
Okay. David and Kathleen Maurice?
Yes.
Ready to proceed? Okay. All right, Dutch Harbor, you're up.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Mark Liberati, representing the owners of Dutch Harbor Marina, and with regard to an application to modify a zoning variance that was granted approximately 1 year ago. As you know, Dutch Harbor is designated in the zoning code as for commercial use. Marinas are allowed in that district. A marina is defined in the code as a waterfront facility providing mooring, dockage space for recreational pleasure boats, which may also provide other services such as launching ramps, fuel, repairs, sale of boats and accessories, boat call-up facilities, and personal services. Lunchrooms or restaurants not serving alcoholic beverages are allowed by special use permit. Likewise, lunchroom or restaurants serving alcohol beverages are allowed by special use permit. On page 156 of the comp plan, it was recognized that Dutch Harbor will likely become a layover port for recreational boaters as it is discovered by the cruising community. If that happens, and it has happened already, this obviously will not increase any burden on parking or on traffic. You will hear testimony that, in fact, Dutch Harbor is being recognized by the boating community, and that any business catering to that boating community demands a certain level of service, which in fact includes the service of food. There is a goals, policies, and implementation section to the comp plan, and I'd like to give you a copy of that, because it's in a grid format. It's a little difficult to read off of it, but I've got several copies here. I don't know how many, but I've got that many.
Present these as your exhibit.
Yes, sir, please. In that, the goals, policies, implementation section of the comp plan, there is a section entitled Economic Development Action Plan, which I've given you a copy of. And the first policy is to, quote, continue to direct commercial development into existing commercial zones. Action A is to promote commercial development where it is allowed and away from non-commercial zones. Action C states that the community should work with the Chamber of Commerce to attract desired businesses to commercial zones. As part of your package here tonight, you have a letter from the Jamestown Chamber of Commerce recommending that the Dutch Harbor relief be granted, and I don't know if you normally make a separate exhibit or you just include it as part of the package, but if you normally make an exhibit, I'd like that marked as an exhibit.
Well, that's in the correspondence. Did you? Bring an original?
The original was filed with the zoning officer, but I have a copy if you'd
All
like.
right, I'll just mark this. Give it to you. Not to interrupt you, but I mean, wasn't this granted last year?
Yes.
We're looking to expand it?
Yeah, we'll just,
Kind of putting on a full presentation.
well, maybe unnecessary, but I'll try to speed it up real
But they
quick.
want to read here, the original?
No, I do not, no.
And what?
Okay, all right. Okay, item C is to work with the Chamber of Commerce to attract desired businesses. The goal is not to stop commercial development. If so, Dutch Harbor would not have been zoned commercial, it would have been zoned residential. Policy 3 is to utilize the economic potential of commercial zones to sustain the local economy. Action B is to ensure that moorings are supported by adequate landside facilities. Again, the property is zoned commercial, the code recognizes that it should be there for the purpose of providing water-related services to the community, and we need to do this, have this restaurant for that purpose. And as the chairman just stated, last year this was allowed. There was a certain amount of negotiation that went back and forth with the planning board having to do with opening and closing times, hours of operation, and the cleanup time, setup time, and deliveries. The experience of the shack in the last year demonstrated that we needed to refine those restrictions in the following way. We had a number of people coming in at 6 p.m. or shortly thereafter, coming off their boats who wanted a sandwich. We couldn't give them a sandwich. So we're simply asking that the hours be extended to 8 p.m. We had a problem with cleanup, setup time and cleanup time that was limited to a half hour. My sons found that to be unreasonable, needed more time to set up and to clean up. So we're looking to actually eliminate that because we don't think that there is a single business in town where the board has said that you can't enter the premises before a certain time. No problem with the idea of serving the public, but I frankly don't understand what purpose it serves to tell my son that he can't be there at 6 o'clock in the morning. You're not bothering the community by being inside the building, you're not serving anything. And the last issue has to do with deliveries. There was a restriction that deliveries could only take place during the hours of operation and setup and cleanup time. Bread deliveries come by truck. There is one truck from Khaleesi Bakery that services the entire island. He would show up between 6 and 7 o'clock, and we obviously cannot ask Khaleesi Bakery to send a separate truck for the shack just to comply with that requirement. So as the chairman stated, it was here last year. We're here only to modify restrictions that were imposed last year based on the experience that we had last summer. With that, I'd like to call my first witness.
Well, before you get there, first, I believe there are many objectors here. Is anybody represented?
The objectors?
Yeah, representing?
Yeah. There are a few of us here, but.
I'm sorry?
There are a few of us here, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, is anybody represented by a lawyer?
No.
Because we usually let the representative, we usually let the lawyer ask questions of witnesses after the petitioner, examines the witness.
We have no
Just
lawyer.
questions that don't go on.
Yeah.
All right. Help me out with one thing. You want to change the hours from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.?
Yes.
All right. And you want to change the cleanup and setup from a half hour? Were those hours stated in the decision?
You incorporated the planning board recommendations which said you can't be in the building earlier than 7:30 in the morning or later than 6:30 at night. And we're looking to change that.
All right, 7:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m.
Right.
So what are you looking for on the change?
Well, what I'm saying is that I don't know of another business in town, and no one seems to know of another business in town, where the zoning board is restricting the ability of an owner of the business to go into the business at any time. In fact, God knows how many businesses there are in Jamestown that have cleaning crews in there at all hours of the night, and that doesn't seem to bother anyone. So I don't really understand the need for restriction. If the board would like me to suggest something to them, I would, because I know it's comfortable, but I don't understand the purpose of the restriction.
You want to eliminate it.
Correct.
What about the delivery? What was the purpose of that?